2.87 trillion tokens processed every single week. That's Hi3 preview, and it's currently the most used model on OpenRouter. I'm going to show you exactly why. Here is the map for this video. First, we start with 0.0666 mm input. Then we move into 8 fastest out of 85 models. Then we compare intelligence, rank number 17. Then we test dial reasoning up or down per task. Then we check mixture of experts. Finally, we close on multiple providers. This number right here is the first reason Hi3 took the top spot. Look at this number, 0.066 per million input tokens. Output 2266. That's the OpenRouter price for Hi3 preview. To put that in perspective, the average input price across the top 85 models on artificial analysis is around 45 cents. Hi3 comes in at 12 cents. That's not just cheaper. That's a completely different category of cost. And on OpenRouter specifically, it gets even better. The listed price there, 0.066 for input, output at 0.26. Those numbers mean you can run 10, 20, 50 experiments without thinking about your bill. This isn't a small discount. This is the kind of pricing that changes how you use a model. When a model costs this little, you stop optimizing prompts for token count. You stop truncating context. You just throw the full document in and let it figure it out. You run 3 variations and pick the best one. That's the real shift here. No source brief available, avoid specific factual claims, user-provided sources, priority treat as authoritative, cite explicitly where relevant. Speed number 8 or 85 on 11.7 output tokens per second, 4 out of 4 units for speed. But speed alone doesn't matter if the model can't actually think. So how smart is it? Price gets people in the door. Speed keeps them there. Hi3 preview outputs 1.5 tokens per second. That makes it the 8th fastest model out of 85 on artificial analysis. For context, the average model on that index runs at about 56 tokens per second. Hi3 is literally twice as fast as the average. What does that feel like in practice? You hit enter and the response starts streaming almost instantly. No staring at a blinking cursor. No wondering if the request timed out. For developers building agentic workflows where one task might trigger 5, 10, 15 sequential API calls, this speed isn't a luxury. It's the difference between a tool that feels responsive and one that feels broken. And here's the thing, fast models usually come with a catch. Either they're dumb or they're expensive. Hi3 manages to be fast and cheap at the same time. That combination is rare. Input 20 or 85 1133 USD per 1M tokens Kajero. 105 15%, 1 out of 4 units for input price. Verbosity number 63 or 85 1.2 mm. Output tokens from intelligence index 4 out of 4 units for verbosity. The intelligence score is solid, but the real secret is how you can tune it. Alright, so it's cheap and fast, but is it actually useful? On the Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index, Hi3 preview scores 42 out of 100. That puts it at rank 17 out of 85 models, solidly in the top 20%. Now, I know what you're thinking. 42 out of 100 doesn't sound impressive, but the intelligence index is brutal. Top-tier reasoning models score in the 70s and 80s. Hi3 isn't trying to compete with those, it's targeting a different niche. This model is smart enough for the vast majority of real-world tasks. Code generation, document summarization, data extraction, a multi-step tool, calling it, handles these reliably, and it does it at a price point where you can afford to use it constantly. Most production workloads don't need a genius. They need a reliable worker that doesn't hallucinate constantly and doesn't cost a fortune. Hy3 hits that balance, and there's one feature that makes this balance even more interesting. Comparison summary Hy3 preview reasoning is amongst the leading models in intelligence and reasonably priced when comparing to other open weight models of similar size. It's also a very input price number 20 or 85.120 USD per 1M tokens, cash at 0.105, or 15%, 1 out of 4 units for input price. But the real reason developers are adopting this model goes beyond individual features. Hy3 preview has 3 configurable reasoning levels: disabled, low, and high. This is a big deal. Most models give you one mode, either they think step by step or they don't. Hy3 lets you choose per request. Disabled mode, the model responds directly, no internal reasoning chain. Fastest option. Perfect for simple tasks, classification, extraction, formatting. Low mode, a light reasoning step. Still fast, but adds just enough structure for tasks like code fixes, data transformations, or summarization with specific requirements. High mode, a full chain of thought reasoning. Slower, more expensive, but handles complex debugging, multi-step planning, and tasks where getting it right matters more than speed. The practical impact. You don't pay for reasoning when you don't need it. Simple extraction. Disabled. Complex refactor. High. You control the cost latency intelligence trade-off per call. For agentic workflows, this is huge. Your orchestrator can route simple steps through disabled mode and save the high reasoning budget for the hard parts. The model supports text input, outputs text, and has a 256K tokens context window. When evaluating the intelligence index, it generated on 20M tokens, which is very verbose in comparison to the average of 40M. Quick aside, if you study from your own notes, try Mnemonic. It turns PDFs, slides, and recordings into summaries, mind maps, flashcards, quizzes, and exam practice. The free plan is enough to test the workflow. Link in description. Then we go back to the video. So the model itself is solid, but there's one more piece to this puzzle. Hy3 preview is a mixture of experts model built specifically for agentic workflows. That's not marketing fluff, it's in the architecture. Agentic workflows mean multi-step tasks. The model calls a tool, gets a result, decides the next step, calls another tool, and keeps going until the task is done. This pattern breaks a lot of models. They lose context, hallucinate tool outputs, or get stuck in loops. Hy3 was designed for this. The configurable reasoning modes let you run most steps in disabled or low mode fast and cheap, and only engage high reasoning when the agent hits a decision point. Let me give you a concrete example. Say you're building a coding agent that fixes bugs. Step 1, analyze the error log disabled mode instant. And Step 2, identify the relevant code section low mode, quick reasoning. Step 3, generate the fix low mode. Step 4, verify the fix against test cases high mode, because this is where correctness matters. Total cost. Pennies. Total time. A few seconds. And you got the benefit of deep reasoning exactly where you needed it. This is why developers are switching. Not because Hy3 is the smartest model, because it's the most practical model for building things that actually work. Pricing for Hy3 preview reasoning is 0.12 per M input tokens, competitively priced. Average is 0.45 per 1 output tokens, moderately priced. Average 1.69. In total, it costs 84.43 to evaluate a Hy3 preview. Reasoning on the intelligence index. So we've covered price, speed, intelligence, reasoning modes, and agentic design. Let me show you the High 3 preview is available through OpenRouter, and that matters more than you might think. OpenRouter doesn't just host the model, it routes your requests to the best available provider with automatic fallbacks if one goes down. Multiple providers means better uptime and lower latency depending on your region. The model also supports a 262,000 token context window. That's enough to fit entire codebases, long documents, or extended conversation histories without chunking. And the weekly usage numbers tell the story. 2. 87 trillion tokens processed per week. That's not a typo. Developers are running serious production workloads through this model, and the OpenRouter infrastructure handles it. When you combine cheap pricing, fast inference, configurable reasoning, and a reliable routing layer with fallbacks, you get a model that developers trust for production, not just for experiments, for real applications that users depend on. That's the full picture. Price gets attention, speed and intelligence keep people using it, configurable reasoning makes it flexible, and OpenRouter makes it reliable. That's why High 3 Preview is the most used model on the platform right now. It supports configurable reasoning levels across disabled, low, and high modes, allowing it to balance speed and depth depending on the task, while delivering strong code generation and reliable performance across multi-step, real-world workflows. Policy 6 perform and output price ROAS 0.266 per WAM context 2 years 666 2K weekly tokens 2. ADA Step 22, 2026 model weights providers for High 3 preview OpenRouter routes requests to the best providers that are able to handle your prompt size and parameters with fallbacks to maximize uptime. If you want me to benchmark High 3 against Claude or Gemini in a real coding agent loop, drop test in the comments. Like the video, hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next one.